Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Jai Om Srimad Bhagavatam Sukadi Prad Charge to Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nama Charge Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Gopinath Sham Gun Radha Kuniri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Ramana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Maharaj, and thank you everyone for joining us for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Monday, September 26th, 2022, in the Western world anyway, and we are in the third canto, 8th chapter, and today my notes tell me we're starting with verse number 20. Is that what you also have, Maharaj?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, 20.
And it seems like your connection
Thank you,
today.
Prabhu.
It seems like your connection today is a little bit.
Thank you to all.
It's a little not as strong as it. Dodgy.
In and out.
Yeah. Yeah, your video's frozen right now.
So you're going to stay up. Okay. We'll see how it goes if it becomes. Is that better now, at least on the audio?
Yeah, so far.
Okay, so maybe. So let's stay with our video off then. Anyway, sorry about that, but let's carry on.
All right.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tamasya Pade Viduratma Sargam Vichindato Put Sumahams Srinemihi Yo Deha Bhajam Bhayam Girayana Parikshano Jayur Ajasya Hetihi. O Vidura, while searching in that way about his existence, Brahma reached his ultimate time, which is the eternal wheel in the hand of Vishnu, and which generates fear in the mind of the living entity, like the fear of death. Om Vajrana Timirandhasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Vina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Vina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kodamaityam Tathati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrasatam Sagana Gaganatan Vitam Sam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Bhakta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishna Bhanusute Devi Pranamami Puri Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before we proceed further, we have some news regarding text 15. I heard back from Hari Parshad Prabhu, who quotes Srila Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami says, at the end of the previous kalpa, Brahma merged with Narayan and took rest with him. When the Padma kalpa began, he awoke with Narayan and appeared through the lotus. So that matches a comment in Srila Prabhupada's purport. And the conclusion is that what we're seeing here is not the birth of a new Brahma, but Brahma's reappearance in the second kalpa of creation. First, we have the Brahma kalpa. This will be described in a coming chapter, calculation of time from the atom. Brahma has 30 days in his month. Each one is called a kalpa. And the first is the Brahma kalpa, the second is the Padma, and the names are given for the other 28. So the description we've heard in the earlier verses is a description of Brahma's reappearance. Brahma, at the end of the first kalpa, the Brahma kalpa, merged with the body, or merged into the body of Narayan, goes to sleep when Narayan goes to sleep. So this is Brahma's night. And then in Brahma's day, Brahma reappears in the second day. At the end of this night, he reappears in the second day. Then the Padma appears on the lotus flower. So it leaves other questions open. What happens in the other days of Brahma? Does this happen every time? And there are other questions about time that will arise in this chapter. But at least that one question is answered. What we were hearing about was not the birth of the new Brahma, but the reappearance of Brahma in his next day. Any questions about that, by the way? Okay. So now we come to this verse. Tamasya pare piduratma sargam vichindato putsumahams trinemihi yo deha bhajam bhaya irayana virikshanotyayur ajasya hetu. The tamasi apare sargam vichindataha. The Brahma was contemplating the source of his existence. Atmasargam, the cause of his existence, Vichimbatan, who's thinking about it and thinking about it. But Tamasi Apade, in the word for word, an ignorant way of searching. We heard that in the previous verse, or perhaps it's coming in a verse. And I think we read it. Searching, he was contemplative, he was diligently trying to, but for the first thing, he's born without knowledge of. That's Tamasiya Pade. So while he's thinking, Abhut Sumahan Trinemi, the time is moving on. Sumahan, the great power of time. Time of 3 dimensions. I don't think that means well, I'd have to review, but Trinemihi refers to the wheel of time. If I remember, it has, well, I don't remember, but we'll get a detailed description of the spokes and the rim of the wheel and so on. If I remember, the rim has 3 portions. Trinemihi. I'd have to go back and look at that. Maybe someone will. But Deha Bhajam, for the embodied living entities, Bhayam Irayana. Time causes fear. Bhayam means fear, Bhaya means death also, but especially fear. Fear ultimately means fear of death. So time is moving, and the embodied souls, predikshanoti, ayu. So the time is diminishing everyone's life. Vayu hadati, no. Ayu hadati vaipumsa. Every day that passes is a day diminished, subtracted from our life. So while Brahma is thinking, he's not thinking in an environment where time is standing still. Time is moving, time is moving. The wheel of eternal time is moving. All right, are there some questions or comments here? Question 1. I often hear, Vijay Krishna says, that one of the qualities of a devotee is that he's fearless. Is it that this fearlessness includes not being afraid of dying? If your answer is yes, how so? Yes, a devotee is fearless. One thing is, not from, he knows, not from Shojitamar. See, I have nothing to lament because this body is going to be finished today or tomorrow. Jata Srihi Rugo Mitru Rugo Janma Tasya Tasmada Pariharya. Not from Shojitamar. In the 2nd chapter, Krishna gives Arjuna so many reasons not to be concerned about this change of body. The soul is eternal, the body is going to be finished sooner or later. So why lament for the change of body? Why should we lament? So our Kadambakana is not fleeing death. All right, it is what it is. So let me accept it and carry on. Kendra Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Whenever I've read this verse, the question that always arises for me is when it says Brahma reached his ultimate time, which makes it sound like it's the end of his life. And in Srila Vishwanath's commentary, he specifies 100 years of Brahma's time. But this seems like Brahma's just getting going. So how do you reconcile that?
Yeah, there are remaining questions about time in this chapter, and that for me is a major one. If, of course, in Vishwanath he says, time proclaiming the approach of death for men destroys the lifespan of 100 years, and in a later chapter, a later verse, there'll be a discussion about Brahma meditating for 100 years, and Vishwanath specifies that that's human years. That will come in. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but it will come in a later verse. So what's happening here, I'm not quite sure, because if it's the ultimate time for Brahma, well, wait a second, he's about to offer prayers for creation. So how does that fit? So these are pending questions. I don't have an answer yet, but we got one question answered, so maybe we'll get answers for this and another question too that I have. Thank you for raising that.
Thank you, Maharaj.
And anything else? Okay. Sato nivritto pratilabdha kama swadishnyam asadya punasadevaha shanayajata svasa nivritta chitto Yashirad arudha samadhi yogaha. Thereafter, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again to the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling all objectives, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord. We'll recall from last week that Brahma had deduced that the source of his existence must be down in the water, at the origin of the stem of the lotus on which he sits. And so he entered into the stem and plunged down into the water, and he's searching. Where is the source of my existence? Where is the source of my existence? But he was unsuccessful. Apratilabdha kama, his desire was unfulfilled. It didn't work. He tried this method of empiric investigation, undertook a scientific data gathering program, and it failed. Even though he put all of his effort into it, it failed. And so Swadhishnam Asadya Punaha Deva, Lord Brahma, came back. All right, project failed. Let's go back to the lotus seed and start again with some other approach. So Shanai, Jitasvasa, Nivritta, chittaha yasidat aruta samadhi yoga. Let's read the purport. Samadhi involves concentrating the mind upon the supreme cause of all, even if one is unaware of whether his actual nature is personal, impersonal, or localized. Concentration of the mind on the supreme is certainly a form of devotional service. This is to cease from personal sense endeavors and to concentrate on the supreme cause is a sign of self-surrender. And when self-surrender is present, that is a sure sign of devotional service. Each and every living entity needs to engage in devotional service to the Lord if he wishes to understand the ultimate cause of his existence. So this is Brahma, Vishwanath comments, gave up pride. He proudly thought, I'll find out. But he couldn't find out by his investigation. And so he then surrendered. Let me give up this attempt to understand things by my blunt senses, and let me concentrate on the supreme cause. And Srila Prabhupada comments that this is bhakti. This counts as devotional service, even if one doesn't know what the supreme cause is. We recall that Atri Muni, a great sage, was standing on one's leg for years and years with his arms in the air. May the supreme ruler of the universe be pleased to appear before me. And then Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva appeared. The sage was overjoyed and he ran toward them. But then, well, which of you did I call for? He wasn't sure. Is Brahma the Lord of the universe? After all, he creates it. Or Vishnu, who maintains it, or Rudra, who destroys it. So who exactly was I calling for? I wanted the Lord of the universe to appear as my son, but which Lord is it? So the three lords said, don't worry, we'll all appear as your son. So here also, the meditator may be unsure. He knows there must be a cause. That's the first thing. He's not such a fool that he thinks Satyam Apratishtam Te Jagadahu Nishram. There's no cause, there's no control, everything just is. He's not a fool of that sort. He knows there must be some cause. A person is a cause, something, a force, an energy, a form of God within my heart. He doesn't know, or he may not know. But just the fact that he's trying to find out, that he's surrendered, that he's meditating on that, with concentrating with great deliberation, that's a cause. That's a sign of devotion.
So any inquisitive person who's wanting to, who agrees that there is something.
Yes, an inquisitive person that agrees there must be something. All right, that's counted. That's counted. There's some manifestation of devotional service, some sign of devotional service there. He wants to know his origin. That's counted. In the Bhagavad Gita, what is that? In the 18th chapter, the Lord says, Yana yagena tena aham nishtasyanti yanti. Let's see where that is. Yeah, Adyeshyate Jayādam Dharmyam Samvadamavayoham Ganaya Gainatenaham Nishvasyanati Memati. Anyone who just studies Bhagavad Gita is worshiping me by his intelligence. Ganaya Gainatenaham. He's applying his intelligence to this samvada, this conversation between me and Arjuna. So that counts as devotional service also.
Somebody may read the Gita, but he's not very open to agree that Krishna is the supreme.
Someone's reading Bhagavad Gita, but he's not very open to agreeing that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means his devotional service is slim. If a devotee reads Bhagavad Gita, then he's reading to increase his devotion to Krishna, he increase his Krishna consciousness. A non-devotee's reading still is counted. That, all right, he's reading my book. He may be understanding, misunderstanding, but somehow or other he's using his intelligence to try to understand what I've said. That's counted liberally. More, if we're going to be more strict, he's hearing from some Mayavadi, he's reading Bhagavad Gita with some political motive or with the motive of merging in the Supreme, but even merging in the Supreme you can't do without some devotion to the Supreme. Therefore, Jnana Yoga. The Jnana, it's a speculative process, but some yoga is there, some connection with Krishna. So, again, it's a liberal assessment that, all right, he's meditating. Okay, count him in. He's tiptoeing in the door of devotional service. It's not the same as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Srila Prabhupada to do with me as you like, I'm your eternal servant. It's not that. That's the perfection of bhakti. But here's the beginning of bhakti. I wonder whether there must be some source, there must be an origin to everything. Let me try to understand that. Even that's counted. There's some comments here. Saraswati. Did Krishna provide with the impetus to concentrate his mind on the Supreme Lord? Since he couldn't have obtained this approach merely by his
All right, looks like we just lost Maharaj for a moment. Hopefully he'll be able to sign back on with some sort of stronger connection. Fortunately, he's got people on the spot there to help him out.
Even in Vrindavan, the Kendra Prabhu?
As far as I'm aware. Okay, he's signed back in. Let's see if he can get back in touch with us here.
My apologies, I got dumped off the internet.
We can hear you again, Maharaj.
Okay,
You can switch on the video. This is very trusted.
give me a couple of moments to adjust. We've changed hotspots, and I'm hearing that the new hotspot should be better than the old one. And we'll even go so far as to turn video on again and see if that still works. Whoa. Okay. So let us see. Just give me one more technological moment. Okay. So a person who not endowed with pious activities might undergo the same exercise of empiric research to find the source of everything. And then when he sees, well, you can't really, there's no knowing. There's no knowing. You can't know whether there's God or not. There's no sign of God. It's just dogma. It's just blind faith. It's foolishness. It's rubbish. Let's get on with life without these superstitions and fairy tales. Let's get on with progress and comfort and sense gratification. An impious person facing the same defeat in empiric investigation just becomes
More atheist.
more atheistic. The Prabhupada cited that the Russians went into space and the cosmonauts reported that there was no sign of God up there. So yes, it was Krishna's grace that Brahma, on account of his past pious activities, which means bhakti sukriti, some credit of devotional service, was naturally attracted to try to understand, if not by empiric investigation, then all right, by meditation, by austerity. In the Bhagavad Gita, Labhate Parvadevika, in the 6th chapter. If someone takes up the path of devotional service, but doesn't complete it, he becomes attracted to carrying out, to completing the project. Avasha, let's see where that is. Purvabhyasena tenaiva priyate yavashopisaha. Purvabhyasena, because of his previous practice, priyate yavashopisaha, he automatically becomes attracted, resumes his program. So Brahma, by the grace of Krishna, certainly was able to go further. Now let me move up in the chat box and see where we are, or move down in the chat box, actually. Gurudas says, the term ultimate time is fascinating, but can it mean something other than death? Brahma seems to be surrendering in his search out of fear of death. in the previous verse, Brahma expressed fear of death, but here he controls the senses and mind and concentrates on the Lord. With apologies if your conversation with the Kendra Prabhu just now covered this point. I wasn't paying close attention. No, we hadn't covered this point. In the verse, the Lord just says, or the text just says, Pauline, if I remember, a previous text said Colleen, Vachinvato, Sumaham Strinami, the great wheel of time is going on. I'm not quite sure where ultimate is coming from. Not quite sure where it's coming from. Ultimately, time is death. Ultimately, we're all afraid of death. And we do know that this is not the end of Brahma's life. That's going to be clear from the narration. Brahma has a lot of work to do. So we're not at the end yet. Yes, the Kendra quickly.
Oh, thank you so much, Maharaj. There's just a sentence in the middle of the purport that had me thinking in a certain way and wondering if you might be able to add to my thought. He says, to cease from personal sense endeavors and to concentrate on the supreme cause is a sign of self-surrender, and when self-surrender is present, that is a sure sign of devotional service. When I read that and heard it, it made me think of japa, that your mind is endeavoring all over the place, but if you just cease from that and then concentrate on the supreme cause, that's a sign of self-surrender. And it's encouraging to hear that that is a sure sign of devotional service. If you just cease for the moment from personal sense endeavors.
Yeah. There's also another verse in Prashantasya Paramatma Samahita Shri Toshna Sukute Tata. For one who's attained peace, the super soul is already reached. I think of that in relation to japa also. As you said, the mind is running all over the place. Manoratain asati dhavato, the unchaste mind is wandering all over the place, looking for some enjoyment. And if we can just cease from that, Jatatmana Prashantas, if one can just conquer the mind or control the mind, then Jatatmana Prashantas, one's mind becomes peaceful. Then Paramatma Samahita, practically speaking, he's reached the super soul. The mind becomes peaceful. We can hear the chanting. We can focus our minds on the holy name of Krishna. Prashantatma, Jatatmana Prashantas. Then later in the Bhagavatam, we hear, what is that? Prasanna Manaso, Evam Prasanna Manaso, Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata. One Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana Mukti Sandasya Jayanta. This is the same thing, that the modes of passion and ignorance diminish for the person who begins the process of devotional service. His mind becomes happy and peaceful because he's Krishna conscious. Again, he may not have attained the perfection of Krishna consciousness, but Srinvatam Swakata Krishna. This is the fast way. We hear Jatatmana Prashantasya. If someone's attained peace, then he's already reached the super soul. So the yogis try to do this by controlling the mind, making it peaceful, withdrawing it from sense gratification, starving the senses to bring them quiet them down, make them less overwhelming, less powerful. Then yam, niyam, control of the mind, control of the senses, sitting in a particular way, breathing exercises, all of this to control the mind so that he can become peaceful. But the direct method, Srinvatam Svakata Krishna, Punya Shavana Kirtan, Vidyam Tasto, then let me hear about Krishna. Then Krishna, my best friend within my heart, will purify my heart so that I can make progress quickly and approach him. So thank you for that. Yes, if we can just chant with attention, cease from personal sense endeavors, and concentrate on the supreme cause, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And that's self-surrender, and that's progressive in devotional service. Saraswati says, Brahma was quite alone in one sense, and for an ordinary being, this can lead to succumbing to complete fear and madness, since typically we are a social being. Yes, but Brahma, again, as you said, Brahma had the grace of Krishna, so he wasn't fretting. Oh my God, I'm alone in the universe. There's no one else here. What am I going to do? I have no companion. Where's Saraswati? He's looking, what's the source of my existence? He was a philosopher. Murari, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yay.
Regarding Lord Brahma's ultimate time, sometimes we're struggling to do something and we'll say, okay, let's try one more time. But then after a while, you just give up. There's no more struggle. You've reached your ultimate time where we can't do this. So Brahma's come to the conclusion that he can't do this by his empirical investigation. So perhaps in a sense he's reached his ultimate time of trying to do it himself, and now he's going to try another method.
Your audio is a little muffled. You might want to check it out at some point. You're totally audible, but it's kind of muffled a bit. But yeah, that's another way of looking at ultimate time. The time for this experiment has run out. We've already spent so much time in sense gratification, so much time, as Prabhupada points out, we've spent so many lives trying to gratify our senses, trying to be happy, and it's failed. Or trying to understand ourselves, the universe, whatever. We've all, whether it's in Gyan or it's in karma, in enjoyment or in renunciation, in philosophy, we've spent so many lifetimes, and still we're really nowhere. So Prabhupada said, why not use this one lifetime for Krishna consciousness? So Brahma spent, invested so much time to investigating the source of his existence. So now, all right, enough. Time's up on that. Yeah, I think that's, thank you for that. I think that's what you were, the point of what you were saying, if I got it right.
Yes, Maharaj, that's exactly it. I'm sorry about my voice. I have a little speaking problem.
You can troubleshoot it, on offline or off.
No, it's with my voice, not the device.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hare Krishna. Vijay Krishna says, is it accurate to say that to concentrate on the supreme cause is more or less the same as a child depending and trusting the parents to get the answers to the incessant questions? Well, now we're sort of embarking on a literary question, what's a good analogy here? My analogy would be more like it's a child who doesn't know who his parents are, but he knows, I must have parents. Let me find my father. It's one of those television dramas or cinema experiences. I have to find my father. The mystery of my father's existence. My father's identity is something I have to discover. I'm obsessed with this question. So, but it's stupid. Even there was a very popular book some years ago about a gentleman who was trying to find his roots by tracing back through his ancestral tree. I didn't read the book, so I can't say more than that. But I do know that people invest heavily in this, their internet sites and so on, for discovering, who was your father, who was your grandfather, who was your great-great-grandfather, where did they come from? You can spend money and get into the genetic side of it, and they'll look at your DNA. You must have had an ancestor in Romania, and so on. So people dedicate serious energy to finding out their source, but it's on the bodily platform. Like Prabhupada, that was Prabhupada's critique of Darwinism, that you're just looking at the evolution of the body, and you're missing the person within the body, who's the actual person evolving, as it were, or moving from body to body. So the materialists, they're very, they're obsessed with finding the identity of their father or their ancestors. It's an extension of the bodily preoccupation. Either who am I? Well, I'm in terms of my emotions and my mindset, and they're become mad. Am I a man? Am I a woman? They're so I'm confused about my identity.
Morning, my dad.
Excuse me?
And
yeah, okay. Seems like Kishore's microphone is just on. So people are trying to find their identity on the material platform, and they're confused. Am I an artist, or am I a writer, or am I this, or am I that? Am I an engineer? Am I a lawyer? Am I, trying to find their identity on that platform? Am I an American, or am I an Indian? My parents are this, and one parent is that, the other parent's that. So what does that make me? Trying to understand the identity that way, and then their sexual identity, their gender identity, as it's called these days. That side of it. Their racial identity, their national identity, and really getting down to what my real identity is, or my emotional identity, or am I a Taurus, or am I a Leo? Am I a this? It's all looking for an identity in terms of a sarvupati, all these bodily designations. So again, by analogy, what we'd be looking here is not a person inquiring from his parents. That's more advanced, but just inquiring, who are my parents? Where are my parents? Brahma's searching, what's my origin? Where have I come from? And that's the inquiry of Vedanta, or Tato Brahmajigyasa, what is the origin of everything. Okay, so we're at 5:25. If there's any other comment or question, otherwise we can have kirtan. We have another question here. I have a small live audience. Yes.
People are trying to trace their history, like who is my parents, grandparents. But when they are going back, they are not able to find God. Why is that happening?
People are tracing back their ancestors, grandfather, great-grandfather, but they're tracing back, they're not able to find God. They can't even find their great-great-grandfather. What's to speak of finding God? You know, I know who my father was, my grandfather. On one side of my family, I can go back further. On the other side, that's as much as I know. But even the family where I know more, beyond a certain point, I don't know who was before that. So what to speak of finding God? The empiric method is going to fail. But at least Prabhupada's application of empiricism. My father was a person, his father was a person, his father, his father. So finally, there must be a person who's the origin of everything. Prabhupada talked about royal lineages. You know, this king had his father, that his father, tracing the line of royalty. At no point do you find a member of the royal lineage who's not a person. So that much we can know. We may not know who the person is going back so many millions of years, but at least by intelligence we can understand it must be a person. All right, we're ready for kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnuvad Puramansa Pariprajaka Ashto Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Hari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navdeep Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you.
Thank you, Guru Das Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj.
Thank you, Shraddha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you everyone for being here, for your comments and questions. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jayādvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Jai.
you.